Welcome to everyone. This is the last panel of the first day. I believe we have very important guests, and they are coming from different sectors, and they are coming from the real sectors of Turkey. But they do have one common attribute, because they are actually the institutes and the companies which are shaping Turkey, which are the role model companies for the Turkish market. In this session, we will speak about what kind of investments should gain pace in Turkey, what kind of great investments are required on which areas in the new period. And we have many digital transformation stories, and we heard the word of digital all the time. Everybody understands something about digital transformation, but in order to define it in a concrete manner, I would like to say a couple of things. Providing services to your customers on the digital services and adjusting the capacities of your company in accordance with the digitalization is what the digital transformation is about. But also, while we are speaking about the digital transformation, we will also speaking about the big investments. Deputy Prime Minister on the early session spoke about the sustainability, and we are going to touch upon those issues. So without further ado, I would like to initiate this panel. I would like to ask a question to Muharrem Yılmaz. Mr. Muharrem, what can you say about the manufacturing industry's role for the sustainability, and what kind of a role will it take in the future? We would like to listen to your ideas about it. Thank you very much. And I would like to thank all of our participants for staying late, and I would like to thank the organizing committee for gathering all of us together. Distinguished moderators, I believe the moderators preferred to speak about the manufacturing industry at the very latest hours of today. The manufacturing industry is unfortunately not complying with the global standards. The manufacturing industry's importance are unfortunately ignored in Turkey. The manufacturing industry's share in the GDP is approximately 15%, but it should be 25%. In the developed countries, this ratio of the manufacturing industry ratio to the GDP can go up to 30%, and the manufacturing industry is providing new services. And since the service sector is increasing, the share of the manufacturing industry to GDP is going down from 30% to 25% in the developed countries and economies. In 1980s and 1990s, the manufacturing industry's shares in the GDP reached to 23%. Afterwards, the manufacturing industry didn't actually recede, but the development of the Turkey has been conducted through different industry, through different channels, and unfortunately the share of the manufacturing industry in the total GDP of Turkey is about 15%. It can cause a problem for Turkey, because the factors which will lead to the development of Turkey is also comprising manufacturing industry, and we are ignoring it, and we cannot continue like this.
Teşekkür ederim.
Thank you very much. So we have to understand this, because factory efficiency, human power and capital, this is all the business about. And you are adding your productivity to that business model. The labor force is not increasing in numerical terms. The capital tools are not increasing in numerical terms. Even if you increase them in numerical terms, you cannot have sustainable growth because the capital and the human power is limited. Therefore, those factors should be regarded as a data, and we should focus on the ideas which will increase the efficiency and the productivity of those data. When you ask yourselves a question in which sector we can increase the efficiency to the utmost level, you will realize that it will be the manufacturing industry. So, the manufacturing industry does not have only manufacturing stuff, but it has a triggering force for the development of the economy, and we should realize this. How does manufacturing industry provide factor efficiency? First of all, the manufacturing industry is applying to innovations, and as a result of that, the machines which are used in that industry is improved in terms of efficiency. And then, in order to enable the workers to use those machines, we are providing trainings, and this is also an improvement in the human force, in the labor force. Of course, the same contributions for the factor efficiency can be realized in different industries, but the manufacturing industry is the optimum solution for that. So I would like to underline this fact once again. We spoke about digitalization all the time, but you should not think that the manufacturing industry is not aware of the digitalization. We are aware of it. When we are getting ourselves ready for the tomorrow, we are benefiting from the digitalization. And since the industry is totally aware of the digitalization and its importance, it can change itself, it can adapt itself to digitalization. As we observe the impact of the digitalization even in the agriculture sector and also the service sector, we can give you a lot of concrete examples. I can give you a couple of examples about how our cows are actually digitalized. Is my time due or not? You have one more minute. I would like to say just one more thing. In order to provide factory efficiency, the industry has responsibility, but we should not forget our social responsibilities. This education issue should be taken granted. If we cannot train our citizens in terms of science, math, if we cannot provide such a qualified person, we cannot understand this digitalization process, because digitalization revolution is about the revolution of the numbers. The most priority issue for the future will be the education. Thank you very much.
Faktör verimliliği önemli dedik.
We mentioned factor efficiency. The private sector shoulders that burden. I have a question for Mr. Nihat, actually. In recent years, there has been great infrastructural investments, particularly in the field of energy. Is that sufficient? And where do you see any opportunities in the upcoming days? What things should we focus on for an economic growth? Thank you, moderator. Your question is one of the most heatedly debated items on the Turkish agenda. Most people have an opinion about what will happen tomorrow. In 2014, we consumed about 240 kilowatt hours, and this was 3000 kilowatt hours per individual per annum. But in European countries, this is double the figure that we have. In the USA, per individual, it goes up to 10,000 kilowatt hours. Here is what I'm trying to say. In the next 5 to 10 years, if we have to achieve the same level as the EU, the amount of energy we are going to consume is going to be around 5 to 6,000 kilowatt hours, and our population is going to increase to 90 million too. And this means we need a capacity increase. It is evident. At the beginning of 2015, some new power plants entered into force. Some surplus energy is moving around too. And as of the second quarter of 2014, energy prices decreased a little. And although energy investments are demoralized, I think we still have a good route ahead of us. However you may view it, this even if this surplus supply may continue by the year 2018, we will still have an energy deficit. This means we will have to continue to invest in energy, quality energy at that, and distribution and marketing. If you consider it, there's a privatization of natural gas plants and energy plants too. This is a correct step taken forward because efficiency is around 40%, and a newly built ones offer an efficiency ratio of 60%. This means the same level of energy can be obtained through consuming half the gas that is being consumed at the moment. Currently, we are going to build a plant with an efficiency ratio of 62%. And every year, we are going to consume 240 million cubic meters of gas less in order to achieve this. Coal plants held by the state are on the rise too. We recently acquired the plant based in Yeniköy and Kemerköy. It's an old plant, inefficient one by our standards. We are going to refurbish it, boost efficiency, and even add capacity so that this plant comes to the expectation level the private sector has. In brief, I would like to say we should not be demoralized in Turkey if we are especially energy investors. Go on investing because I believe we still have a lot of distance to cover in the field of energy. If Turkey is to get developed and become a European country, nobody should doubt that the need will still be there in the future. The state is still running some natural gas and coal plants as well as hydraulic power plants. These should be privatized as fast as possible. The current pricing system should also be revised, I believe. We acquired the Kemerköy plant for $2.7 million. The one in Afshin Elbistan, for example, is not efficient and costing us even. On the other hand, a private sector power plant cannot compete with the low prices offered by the state. This is where the system is impaired. The state should privatize its electricity plants as soon as possible in the next days in a very successful manner. The state has divided the country into 21 different areas and privatized distribution. Back in the day when it was half private, half public, there were great troubles. But as of 211th month of June, 100% privatization came. Old systems were refurbished. We had subscribers without any addresses. Now we have integrated monitoring and informatics systems. We are now addressing 10 million subscribers and we distribute 50 billion kilowatt hour of energy each year. In 2015, 16 and 17, the money we are going to invest in an informatics system is going to be $200 million, for example. When all this system was owned by the state, this investment used to be made only in every 3 years. That would age your system. Istanbul's month of February, for example, was quite bad. In only one day, 150,000 people were not provided with electricity because there is no geographical information system, no addresses of subscribers, and no sufficient facilities. These should all be addressed. We are making great investments in that sense, and not only us, all other distribution companies, for example, Mr. Ibrahim Bey is distributing in the Trace region, should also take steps forward in terms of modernization in order to come up with quality service and uninterrupted power supply. Thank you. As you said, energy is quite important. $120 billion is the estimated investment need, and if we are going to continue to grow, we need that money. Probably in the second round, we can talk with public and private sector ventures. I would like to ask Mr. Adil about their investments too. Looking at the bigger picture, what kind of opportunities are there in the energy industry? Are the investments precise, or is there going to be a change in investment dispositions? Valuable moderator, first of all, I would like to thank all audience. It is really difficult to be the last speaker, but we still have the audience intact. I would like to thank the audience and also additionally the organizers behind this two-day summit. In 2006, we started investing into energy, and at that time, there was a privatization movement starting, and it was a storm of private companies entering and stepping into the industry. Currently, we generate 620 megawatts per hour, and in 7 years, we built 7 hydraulic power plants. In the upcoming periods, as Mr. Nihat underlined and exemplified, we have a lot of distance to cover in the field of energy. But when we say energy, we should differentiate between renewable and other types of energy. Currently, we prefer investing into renewable energy, but in the next periods, of course, we will be taking steps forward in terms of production with coal. We have some future goals. We hope to reach 2000 megawatts per day by the year 2023, and we will hopefully be generating 50% of it through renewable means. Development of Turkey primarily depends on manufacturing, and Mr. Muharrem clarified that for us. All around the world it is the same. If you fail to manufacture, you are going to stumble upon some chaos. You will see examples in Spain, Greece, Portugal and Italy, and they are evident examples. Unfortunately, in past years, for a long period of time, the service sector was on an undeserved rise, and we hopped into the bandwagon as part of the latest groups. However, we ignored one of the most primary factors, which was manufacture. From now on, we have to act very carefully and intelligently. Many of our colleagues are asking for incentives from the state for new investments. They insist on it, but I say the opposite. We need to have incentives for current manufacturing means. Billions of dollars have been spent on the current facilities we have, and each penny came out of our citizens' pockets. If you cannot support your current means of manufacture, new facilities to be built will only mean trivial new investments, and they will not improve our foreign exchange rate ratios. We have to capitalize on energy, but once we improve our manufacture, the need for energy will become more obvious. In order for this course of action to be changed as soon as possible, we should reconsider our demands about incentives in manufacture. Valuable friends, energy is something that we need desperately. When I was listening to my colleague from Google, I instantly saw the need for electricity, power, energy, even in an African village. There was an example about charging their phone's batteries in a hotel lobby, which was something a single person did once a week or so. This is a good example that underlines the importance of energy. In Turkey, investments on energy should focus on other parts of the realm, for example, wind energy, solar energy, and such. However, unfortunately, the biggest problem we have is the environmental impact report issue. Wherever you may be, if you are investing in energy, after you start your investment, you have to deal with your environmental impact report for about 2 years. But how can we achieve that energy success that we desperately require? The Ministry of Energy should be able to give you a license that authorizes you to start your investment right away without having to obtain further permits from other ministries. If you fail to do that, you cannot make sure that small firms can develop. People are struggling to establish a hydraulic power plant with a capacity of 6 to 7 megawatts. They spend money, but they get tangled in the net of the environmental impact report. This also causes them to stay away from any further investments. This is why these reports should be issued from a single point, and this should be the Ministry of Energy. In the upcoming period, I will also talk about my opinions on digitalization. Well, energy is a hot topic that is for granted. Now I will turn to Ibrahim Çeçen. He is involved in the energy sector. But you have also carried out infrastructural investments. So what are your thoughts about the future? What kind of infrastructural projects should be prioritized for sustainable growth in Turkey? What should we do first? Before starting, I will similarly state my thanks to the organizations contributing to this event. Esteemed guests, a country without a complete infrastructure cannot develop any of its industries. We all know that. Mr. Muharrem underlined manufacture, said it was principle, but without the infrastructure required for it, there can be no manufacturing industry. And I believe Turkey is one of those countries where the infrastructure is still incomplete, particularly energy, transportation, health and education investments are still lacking. You can add urban transformation to the list too. By the year 2023, our government strives to achieve specific goals, and they have detailed a number of investments required. As there is an order of priority, we know that $240 billion is going to be the sum invested in infrastructure as part of these goals. Especially investments in highways are important. At the moment, our current highway capacity or length is around 202,000 square kilometers, and we require more than double of that being added on top by the year 2023. We have 750 square kilometers for our express trains, and that has to be more than doubled too. We have more than 75% of work ready to be done ahead of us. And about arable agricultural uh, fields, only 60% of them receives irrigation. 40% still requires it. In the field of healthcare, great investments are required, but especially 33 urban hospitals are being planned for the future. Out of these 32 hospitals, we have a financial value of $16 billion in the next 15 years. Their construction is going to be completed, and we will then follow a period of healthcare transformation. The current capacity of our hospitals tells us that we require a big reform in terms of that. Privatization process is still in progress. It is incomplete. Still, we need to realize some large-scale projects. It was already mentioned. Still, 22% of our energy production capacity is held by the state. I think the state should already prioritize it 100% as soon as possible. Highways, bridges are still being run by the state as well, and they need to be privatized. There is another important point. I wish I could also tell this to state authorities, but I will confine myself to this audience for right now. All airports in Turkey are complete at the moment, and some of them are top-notch even at European level. You can compare your airports to European ones because you may be also traveling abroad, but a large portion of these airports are being leased for a period of about 15 to 20 years. They are being run by the private sector. By the time our third airport has been completed, $1.5 billion is going to be the leasing income the state is going to gain. Think about a company that gains $1.5 billion only from leasing. Normally, you would utilize it for further investment, but the general airport administration receives that money here because the state has to run other airports that are at a loss but not at a profit in other sides of the Anatolian domain. But why is the state holding these still? The private sector can do that for it. Maybe it can't be full privatization, but it can be offered for public listing, and I think this income can be boosted even further by doing that. I hope my voice will be heard by the relevant authorities and respected as an idea. As I said, highways are being run by the state, so are bridges, and they should be privatized too. In the field of tourism, there are problems too. As you know, starting from 1983, we started with a revenue of $360 million, and it is far greater than that at the moment. Tourism is one of the biggest drivers of foreign exchange gains in Turkey. And back in the day, Mr. President of Republic Turgut Özal made a big attempt at revitalizing tourism. Currently, even in only Antalya, there are around 250 five-star hotels, and they are aged around 25 to 30. They are leased for about 50 years, and if they are not privatized very soon, if we just only care about the leasing fee that we receive, we might lose the great source of income that is tourism. Without taking necessary steps, 10 years later, our tourism facilities might be in shambles. This is why the government has to be prepared and start addressing the issue already.
Thank you very much. I believe we spoke about infrastructures, hospitals, and highways. In the second round, we will speak about this important issue. I would like to ask a question to Mr. Bünyamin. You are in a totally different sector, education, Doğa College. The quality of the education in Turkey is discussed all the time. Deputy Prime Minister said that in terms of quantity, we don't have many problems, but quality will be our second target for the upcoming future. What is your opinion about this sector? Do you think that there is a space for the new players? What do you think about the role of the private capital in the education sector? First of all, many speakers underline the importance of the education in their speeches. So they actually conveyed the message that we are trying to give to the people. The education is not in the level desired in Turkey. It is really important, after all, that education sector is being represented in the summit, because in these chairs that we are sitting right now, tomorrow our students will be in our seats. So the generations who have the vision is really important, and the representative of the education sector which provide that vision to the next generation should be here maybe we discuss about this issue. Maybe in the upcoming summit, I will do my best to attract the representatives of the private schools. The private school sector is trying to improve itself and trying to grow. When Doğa College has been established in 2002, the private schools has the share of 1.7% and the private schools ratio is 4%. And it is 10% for the OECD countries, and their target for 2025 is 15%. It is not possible for Turkey to reach 15% of private school ratio. If we would like to realize this, 2.5 million students should enroll in the private schools. Of course, this sector is in need of new dynamism and new players. As Doğa College, we have 100 campus and we are providing educational service to 70,000 children, and we are the largest school groups in the global sense. While we are actually controlling such an organization, we should not forget a couple of very important issues, because we are providing the labor force to the government. But we shouldn't forget that we were actually students once, and we are benefiting from the infrastructure that have been nourished to us in those schools. It is always mentioned that if the education quality is not good, then that country cannot reach to certain success points. If you want your workers with high analytical skills, then you should provide them scientific education and the math education. But you should not only focus on those classes, but you should also focus on the fine arts and the sports and etc. First of all, we should ask ourselves, what kind of future are we expecting? And in order to reach those students, what kind of actions should we do? We have a policy in order to realize this. We know that we have to give fundamental information to the students, but we also know that the analytical skills of the children, actually the students, should be developed. But can it only be done with the math classes? We, for example, provide the 3D thinking classes in the primary school to our children. So this is just the fundamentals of the engineering classes. So all of those classes are being provided for our students to enable them to reach to success stories. But we should also inject self-confidence to our students. There are many entrepreneurs in this room and there are many managers in this room. Everyone knows how hard entrepreneurship is. Entrepreneurship requires self-confidence and a good background knowledge. All of those background knowledge and the self-confidence are not directly related with the education that are provided through schools. Of course, some of the information, some of the trainings are good for methods, but some of the trainings, the education that we are giving to our students is also important for their visions. We have a couple of students with us. We have students coming from Bursa, Doğa College, because we want our students to actually experience this environment, and we want them to enjoy the output of this summit. If we can do this, then we can actually increase the quality of the education in Turkey. There are many good projects which are supported on the national level. There are many good transformation stories about the education system because we have 2023 targets. In order to reach to those targets, new private schools should be opened. In this year, new private schools are going to be opened, and with these opening of the new private schools, this competition in the education system will provide better outputs. If we invest in the education even further, we will have high qualified person as a labor force, and some of the challenges that we are encountering will be tackled much more easily in the future. We spoke about the investments. In order to speak about the digitalization, I would like to pass the microphone to Ms. Pınar because banking sector is one of the most important sector for digitalization. And your institute is putting a lot of effort for the digitalization. What can you say about digitalization in the banking sector? Do you estimate that a banking sector could be established solely on the digital media and without any branches? First of all, before speaking about the digitalization, I believe there should be a representative from the banking sector with so many businessmen and the managers. And before speaking about the technology, I believe the banking sector has a responsibility, and its main responsibility is to finance the industry. On behalf of İNG Bank, our first priority is to finance the investments for the facilities which are operating. And we are providing financing tools to the companies with added value and enable them to open to the foreign markets. While we are doing this, the young generation is providing us many advantages because the technology adaptation is quite fast. The 60% of the population is comprised of the people below the age of 40. Whenever there is a new technology initiated and launched in the globe, it is becoming disseminated in Turkey very fast. The technology penetration is huge in Turkey, and we know that the Turkish young population is adapting itself to the new technology even faster with comparison to the European countries. I can explain you many things about the social media usage, the technology penetration, and etc. But this is not enough. Okay, it is good that we are adapting ourselves to the new technology, but in Turkey, I would also like to say that many banks are adapting itself to the new technologies and they can be seen as a role model. They are investing for the technology infrastructure because foreign banks are coming to Turkey and they are evaluating the technology investment and the technology infrastructure of the Turkish banks, and they are impressed with our level. But I believe we do one thing not very good. Although we are adapting ourselves to the technologies, we should export our banking sector to the foreign companies. What I'm trying to say that our softwares which are produced for the banking sector should be able to be exported to the foreign countries. Maybe our softwares can also be used for the United States account holders, and that's what we are trying to do. I had a dream when I came to office. We have a license for banking sector, but we are a technology company, and İNG Bank is present in 40 different companies, and we had a desire to become a technology exporter hub. And we have a couple of examples. for such situation. We are recruiting Turkish engineers, the coders, and those Turkish engineers are generating remarkable softwares, and with thanks to their softwares, we have the most advanced mobile application for the ING Bank. Thanks to this, the mobile infrastructure of the Austria has been generated with the Turkish engineers below the age of 26. For example, a mobile application in Austria is being coded by the Turkish engineers. Hopefully, all of those softwares and applications will be exported from Turkey to the European countries. I really care about the development, the regional development, and I believe that we should support this process. We have a center in Kahramanmaraş, and Kahramanmaraş is in the industrial zone, and there are 500 people who are working in this center, and 85% of the workers are women. This is not solely a call center. All of the transactions, like receiving a loan or sending money, all of those transactions can be realized with the graduates who are graduates of the universities who are living in Kahramanmaraş, and this contributes a lot to the women employment. So this center is not only a center which is providing services to the Turkey, but it should be a center which is providing services to the Asian continent, European continent, also the United States. This is our dream, because if we can do this, maybe not only 1,000, but 5,000 or 10,000 people will be recruited in the Kahramanmaraş city. Our partners said to us that you are a foreign-based company. We don't want to work with you. We would like to work with a Turkish company, but I give them the reply that our competitors are not the Turkish companies. We are competing with the foreign banks, because if we can do much more transactions, then the employment opportunities in Turkey will be even higher. And if we can do this, our softwares and banking softwares can be exported to the Austria, the United States, and etc. This is our vision, and our main priority is, of course, financing the manufacturing in the industrial sector. But we have another vision on behalf of ING Bank. The success stories, especially in terms of technology, will be exported to many countries, and hopefully this will be a role model. And hopefully all of such activities will contribute to the women employment in Turkey, and it will contribute to the Turkish development and enabling Turkey as a banking hub, and Kahramanmaraş will be the city of the probable center in the future. That's all what I would like to say.
Şimdi geri kalan süremizi de dikkate alarak
Considering the time left, we have only 2 to 3 minutes left each. We have started talking about technology, so let's go on with that. In only 2 to 3 minutes, please answer about your remarks on technology. The digitalized world is actually called an information society, and in order to understand it better, we have to view it in 2 different categories. This information society is not a society of people who respect information even further. So it is not even a determining factor too. Currently, the capacity of storing information is quite higher than the past. Now we can store it, we can process it, and then transmit that processed information. Our sponsorship firm also does this quite well. They are engaged in investment, finance sector, and infrastructure, and so on. And information technologies can give you an upper hand for competitive power in any step that you take. Turkey is also furnishing its infrastructure for that information society to boost our capability to collect, analyze, and transmit data. We are transmitting to 4G, but other people are already transiting to 5G. We should keep up with them, increase our pace. But competitive power is not all about that. Everyone is trying to do the same thing. Just like building highways, infrastructures, and so on, this is going to be something everyone is going to do. But principal importance lies with knowledge. This means we need to have a capacity of associating and absorbing information and turning it into input as well as output. This is the toughest part of it all. As a matter of fact, the emphasis on education is closely tied to that, associating yourself with information so that you can reflect it into efficiency of factors. What if that doesn't happen? Well, it should. We should be careful. Because even artificial intelligence is developing on one side. We are talking about robots right now, and therefore this competition, this contest is not about us anymore only. It is also competition with extra parties which can analyze and process information in a better and faster manner. Back in the day, if you were a farmer owner, you would be knowledgeable about mating seasons of your animals. It is all about experience. Hundreds of hours of observing your animals gives you that information. And he would then be knowledgeable about when the time was ripe. If he did it right, it would also give him a competitive edge because you have to ensure that your animals mate at the correct time so that you have more animals in the next year and better productivity. Currently, we do it in a different manner, not with observations only. Currently, we have equipment that are attached to the cows. They have rings, they have earrings, they have collars, they have RFID tags, and so on. So we don't have to examine these animals physically for hours and hours. We collect data now. We measure their body temperatures, the steps they take every day, whether they are lying down at the moment or they are afoot. We collect and collect and collect this information. And in the end, it comes down to processing that data. And we realize that the most optimum way of doing thing is having body heat y and steps taken, number of steps taken, represented by x. You tell your machines to warn you, to notify you to step into the field and start the mating process when it is time. But that can even be done with robots because the milking process is being done by robots at the moment. There is nobody in person. When the cow is ready for milking, for example, if that cow had been milked 5 hours ago and it is again time to do it, the robot decides on that, raises the robot arm, and after performing the necessary cleaning operations, the milking device comes into play and milking takes place. And the farmer had to do it all by himself. But the machine does not require you to be there anymore, even at the milking phase, which is a manual operation. In the past, people used to be paid handsomely for milking cows in an efficient manner, but those people are not employed anymore. So, people involved in the mating of animals cannot be employed anymore in the future, too. This is all connected to what I say. Collect data, turn it into know how, and also convert your skills into basic business output. That is the critical point waiting us. Digitalizing is like that on our side, but for other products, you may be curious about consumption times and purchase times and so on in order to change your manufacturing processes. Maybe you are not dealing with such a commodity like ours, which is milk. You can still have your imagination at work and process and manufacture personalized and customized products using these possibilities and capabilities which are present in machines at the moment. Actually, digital transformation is reigning over even traditional areas. Even cows are being milked by robots at the moment. So let's go on. We are running out of time. I would like to briefly ask about the reflections of digital transformation in education because I believe it should facilitate education and access to information. But what is going to be the new format of education? Research tells us that 92% of children, without even being 2 years old, they already have a digital footprint on the internet. So, what do you think? Well, actually, children of 2 or 3 years of age are using tablets at the moment, and some fathers and mothers are using them as toys for their infants. But you have to consider education as a whole. In recent years, the most favorited trend is blended education. Currently, it is not offered through a single teacher or a single material. Digital elements are also provided in an education package. This is the most ideal way of offering it all around the world at the moment. A while ago, Mr. Muharrem said maybe even teachers might become robots in the future, but there is a pedagogic side to that. A human must always be present, but even that might change in the future. We can't know. But education has to be thought of as a whole. The unluckiness we have is that the education sector is not so powerful in Turkey. We run common projects with a lot of the companies which have been guests here. For example, Google, Vestel, Samsung, Apple. We run these common projects because technology allows you to benefit from life to the fullest, and we have to bring it into the field of education too. This is the question in our minds. For example, wearable technologies are being developed, and we are also thinking about how that can be utilized in education to boost efficiency and longevity of education. You have to spread it over the entire life of the student. This should include parents. You cannot think of an education without measurement and assessment. The entire scope should be evaluated and monitored very well in order to come up with the right responses. To exemplify, today, if a student comes into the classroom in our college, we have a feedback system that she can utilize. We created this system after a long advisory process, and we found out that getting feedbacks could create the biggest efficiency in education. This should be feedback towards the teacher, the student, and even towards the principal. It is not important whether this is negative or positive. It should be accurate. Let us say that this student attends an exam, uses materials during his or her education inside and outside the classroom. Using these materials, she completes his or her education. Digital materials are used to. At the end of this exam, an automatic measurement and monitoring process is carried out. And if we found out a lacking area through software, we make a point blank shot and create an energy graphic for the student. This can be music or gym lesson. You can do it for all lessons. But if the classroom in question is maths, let us say numbers with powers, if there is a deficiency about this area for the student, we use consolidation material. This can be a question bank or material for descriptive sessions, and through various means we follow up whether that material, that complementary material, is being used. For example, after questions are answered or the courses are attended in the digital environment, the graphic is filled. Then the teacher will know that the lacking gap has been filled and the student is now ready. You should also utilize these possibilities inside the classroom too. Smart boards are an example. Just like how an accountant cannot keep records with pen and paper today, but with a computer, it is not convenient for a teacher to use a blackboard. But in order to utilize the smart boards correctly, you need to make sure you are doing it right. You are utilizing it in an efficient manner. All of these digital applications we are utilizing, from the smart board to tablets used by our students or the softwares, should be determined to ensure an uninterrupted and ideally suitable education for each individual student. I think we should now go on with industrial sides of our panelists. Mr. Nihat, you talked about energy investments, the magnitude of numbers, and facilitation requirements. Public-private partnership is quite important, but it is not an easy task to do, from planning to implementation. To do it in an accurate and efficient manner for a nation to get acceleration, what should be done? When we are talking about public-private collaboration, which is called PPP in brief, it is a common system all around the world, and in the last 12 years it has been frequently utilized in Turkey too, and it is being done correctly. To achieve some points like management of airports, PPP is quite essential, and as it was mentioned before, one of the most modern airports of the world are in Turkey, some of them actually. Atatürk Airport, Ankara Airport, Dalaman Airport, Sabiha Gökçen Airport. Such great airports are not available even in Europe, and these were achieved with the PPP system. What do you understand from partnership? Equality, right? Both the private sector and the public sector have to be equal, but specifications are provided by the state. How do they do it? Dear Undersecretary will know about my complaints. When there is a partnership between the private sector and the public sector, technical specifications should be shared. There should be justice, right? Whenever I give you an example, I always think about striking with the sword in a straight line. But on the other hand, all technical specifications from those of railways to airports, wherever you see the axe has hit the target in a hypothetical way. What do we see in privatization uh, bids, for example? Your technical specifications in your proposals should be legally compliant, and we are generally competing against Turkish firms, right? I would like to see foreign firms in tenders too. When are there foreign firms? Only if you have built a specific structure, undergone legal issues, operated them for a period of years, then after it is time to transfer that structure to the state, a Chinese or a USA firm can come into play and operate that structure you have built. But if we want permanent capital, foreign capital in Turkey, while creating these technical specifications, we should have a principle of equality. These PPP projects issued in Turkey, I claim that are not similar to anywhere in the world. Think of privatization in the energy side. Distribution covers a revenue of $13 billion. It is not possible for Turkey to sell these facilities and get the same amount of money. They sold Yatağan, for example, for $1 billion. Yeniköy Kemerköy, it was sold for $2.7 billion. The third airport, for example, it is currently a marsh. It was an area where coal was mined for years. $10 billion are going to be invested. We are going to shoulder the burden, and the system is going to become operational. There will be VAT and income tax. This is quite a smart investment uh, project. There is also the third bridge for Istanbul. It is going to be offered for service by the beginning of 2016. I'm talking only about Istanbul. Think of junctions, about 200 square kilometers, the length of these junctions. They were also realized through the PPP method. Or think of a triple highway system where you have an underground system, above it a normal road system, and above it a train system. There is no such project anywhere around the world. There is also the Istanbul Channel project, which is going to connect the Black Sea to the Marmara Sea. This is one of the largest projects of the world. The state does it, and we as private sector representatives in an excited manner try to get involved. And as we have the banking sector, thank God the Turkish banking sector is interested too. They help us in succeeding. Otherwise, if we were not backed up by local banks, none of that would have happened. So God bless Turkish banking. Clearly put, this is what I think. They should continue to maintain this powerful structure, and we should also cut a slack for the government because they attributed a lot of importance to the banking system. They took care of their ratios, and both public and private banks in Turkey are now outstanding banks even by European standards. They undertake really large projects aimed at solving issues of Turkey. Thank you very much, Mr. Nihat.
Bu büyük yatırımlar çok sıcak belli. Yani bu büyük yatırımlar kolay değil.
Those investments are huge. There are many risks. Our businessmen are in it. And hopefully the future of Turkey will be established by this. I would like to continue from here. I would like to ask that question to Mr. Ibrahim. This PPP, the public-private partnership, do you believe that the Turkish companies will have a competitive advantage? What do we do in the foreign companies? What kind of success stories do we have? I really hope that our participants have patience. I mean, even Yılmaz, the famous comedian, will not make you to stay that late. I would like to explain you where the Turkish companies have come. Turkish contracting companies are the second in the global sense. Between 250 companies, the Chinese companies are the number one in terms of the construction sector, and the Turkish construction companies are ranking in the second place. Since I'm very old about such experiences, I know how the construction sector has been transformed. When we went to Libya 20 years ago, we couldn't find a place to accommodate. We couldn't receive the reference letter, guarantee letter from our banks. Our companies actually undertook many risks. Especially, we would like to thank the companies who are making business in Libya in the 1980s. We owe them a lot. I would like to give you another example. The first Bosphorus Bridge has been established in 1970s and 1980s. And this bridge has been erected by foreign companies. There were no single Turkish company in it. The third Bosphorus company, the third bridge has been open to tender, and the Turkish companies attended to such tenders, so we can understand the progress in our industry. In the third airport tender, I was the runner-up of the tender. This money cannot be easily spent, and the local companies can easily spend in those amounts. The foreign companies are not coming to Turkey for such investments because they are not coming since they do know that we are here and we are not providing them any opportunity to invest in the market. And we learned a lot from our experiences, and we are disseminating our experiences to the foreign countries. We learned a lot from the foreign companies because we are benefiting from their experiences and their capital power, but we are also teaching them a lot of things with our own business culture, and they are providing us a lot of opportunities. Antalya Airport has been erected with collaboration of the Germany. We are being partners in Turkey, and the German companies are facilitating our business opportunities for like Russia in the Balkan countries. So this is such kind of a collaboration and cooperation we have with the foreign companies. Both in the marine sector, also in the tourism sector, we have many foreign partners, and we are glad to work with them because we have many success stories. In such projects, the companies received remarkable experience because many Turkish companies with their technical capacities and with their financing capacities are right now conducting those projects both in the local market and also in the foreign markets. So the foreign companies are concerned as long as the Turkish companies are attending to the tenders, and there's a reason for that. The Turkish companies are courageous and they are hardworking, and the Turkish engineers are leading us to such positions. Of course, such projects are providing employment to the Turkish society, and what we earn from those projects are returned to Turkey as an external finance. As long as we earn money, I would like to say we are earning our money from the foreign countries and the projects that we have conducted in the foreign countries. So our Turkish companies, we are proud with them, and I would like to congratulate their success stories, and I wish that the big projects owners will be further successful. We don't have time left. I would like to ask a question to Mr. Adil. This last 2 minutes, please, because you are a group who actually made big investments in Turkey. The digital and the technology is actually the second priority, but I do know that you are making huge investments to your sector. What do you expect in your sector? What kind of an effect the digitalization and the technology will have in your sector? Our main sector is the textile sector, and we have an experience over 100 years. We couldn't foresee that the digital will be embedded in the textile sector 20 years ago. I wouldn't believe if somebody says me this statement. But it was mentioned by Mr. Muharrem Yıldız. Our coils starting from their production and to their packaging, all of the data are being embedded to such coils with the digital technology. And we are adding a barcode to the package, and we can identify the raw materials and the production time. So we have such a control on our production system, and it is increasing our efficiency. In the cement sector, we are trying to implement the same control system with the digitalization. And in terms of our customers, we provided a facilitation to our customers. Our customers are using their smartphones and smart devices, and through those smart devices, they can see their debt document anytime they want. And they can take the necessary action. For example, they can pay their debts, they can see whether their products have been manufactured or not, and they can see their invoices. All the process can be controlled very easily. When I make an assessment for the future, 35% of the Turkish population is comprised of the people below the age of 18. The children are doing such kinds of movements with their hands even before they learn how to speak, or even before they learn the names of their fathers or mothers, because they would like to play with these new technological devices. If we cannot adapt ourselves to this technology, this youth generation will be taking the dominant position in the sector. People might say that we cannot digitalize our sector, it is a waste investment. Nobody should think like that, because every product that are being purchased would like to be reached by the society with every detail. So our data centers should be sound. And we have a Sanko College and university, and also coming from the education sector partially. The students that we have see ourselves as the leaders of the 2023. 6 years before, we conducted a research. China, US, England, and Germany. We conducted research in those 4 countries, and we found out that after 1970s, the United States realized that their leaders will not be raised, and in order to raise leaders, the United States established specific schools, and they choose talented students in the secondary school, and they, to some extent, process their students. And we saw that the budget of such schools were $100 million. I'm speaking about the high schools. I'm not speaking about the universities, by the way. We opened the second technology and science high school in Turkey. And in our school, every year we are choosing 20 students. We are enrolling them to our high school, and we are raising them as the new leaders of the upcoming future. The other schools should also implement such kind of studies, because the education is the core of everything. You cannot be successful if the education is not sufficient. If you do not have the digitalization, you cannot be successful either. Hopefully, our generation saw many devices. I saw the calculators. We started to use computers afterwards. We saw the computers with floppy disks. But I couldn't forget that the first PC that we have has the capacity of 32 kilobytes. But right now, the pictures have the size over 32 kilobytes. in our, I mean, the digital pictures cannot be fit into 32 kilobytes right now. Thank you very much for listening to me with patience. That's all what I would like to say. Thank you. As we spoke about the education, maybe we should go back to what Mr. Bünyamin was speaking about. There is 3M digitalization. The MBA program is being provided to the high school students. Could you please summarize it? Our main target is to raise the leaders of the upcoming future. And we are trying to get our students ready for the upcoming business world. And with this blending learning technology, the MBAs and the economies are chosen as the selective courses. The students who are studying in the vocational schools are doing internship, but the doctors of the future are not doing their internships in the high schools, and we are trying to provide them internships by turning this learning process into a game. It is called gamification, and we are organizing a summit. Ms. Pınar, for example, attended to our meeting, and many important representatives of other sectors were also present. We are providing learning modules, and we are supporting those learning modules in the digital environment. Ms. Pınar, I would like to listen to your opinions very briefly. When you assess the banking sector, you gave us a couple of examples like the Kahramanmaraş project, but what do you think about the Turkish banking sector, and do you believe that Turkish banking sector can be superior to its foreign counterparts? Maybe it will be weird to hear this from a representative from the banking sector, but the companies do not need bankers. The companies need banking sector. Our visions should be as follows. The bank transaction costs cannot be tolerated anymore. And there are many startups occurring in each part of the world, and those startups are copying the transactions that the banks are doing. As Turkish banks, we have an advantage because in terms of technology, we are superior to many of our counterparts. So we should increase our efficiency in this technology, and we should come up with the banking models which are cheaper. For example, ING Bank is not developing with the branch banking, but opening new branches means cost. In order to reduce those costs, our numbers of branches are limited to the optimum level in order to provide banking services to our customers with less costs, but we are developing by 30%, and you can ask me, how can you develop yourselves without opening new branches? We are investing on the technology, and we are investing in the analytical tools. You asked us whether there is going to be a robot teacher or not. We have a robot, and our first robots, I encountered with it in Silicon Valley, and we actually created a robot banker, and I can connect with that robot, and I can use that robot to communicate with the colleagues in the Kahramanmaraş center, in the Kahramanmaraş branch. So in any time, by using my tablet or using my smart device, I can attend to any meeting that I would like to attend in Kahramanmaraş Center. Technology is advanced so much, and many of the bankers are discussing about reducing the costs. And this is not only about reducing our costs, but it is also reducing the banking costs of our partners. Many of our companies are paying custom fees, and we have an application which has been developed for those custom payments, and these can be conducted mobile. We have e-billing application, and the e-bills can be processed online. And I believe as Turkish banks, we have many platforms in which we can differentiate ourselves. We should first of all facilitate the business doing of our partners and reduce their costs. This is our priority. I believe that as a result of that, Turkish banks have huge opportunities. Thank you very much. It was a very long panel. We have very important representatives. We have the companies who are making a difference, and this is the end of our panel.